Wait a minute. There it goes. There it goes. I had to hold it longer so that they'll know that I'm here. Pup, put your butt up in the camera. There you go. Now let's pay attention.
Hi there. Thank you both for coming out tonight. I know the weather is a little bit icky. It definitely looks like a storm is coming. And you know, the storm kind of makes sense with the topic that we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about insurance. I know it's something that most people don't want to have to deal with, don't want to have to think about, and certainly don't want to have to take care of. But the reality is that we all need to make sure that we do our best to be able to protect ourselves, protect what we own, and really do our best to protect our families and our loved ones, so that when something unfortunate does occur, at least there's a safety net there to be able to provide some financial stability during time of distress. My name is Janet Caldwell. I'm actually a licensed insurance agent. I've been contracted with Family Heritage for a couple of years now, and I've been licensed since 2009. Over the years, I've heard many stories, many sad stories actually, of people who have gone through situations whose family members have passed suddenly or gone through catastrophic situations dealing with their health, and they really didn't know what to do. Actually, not very long ago, I ran into a gentleman, had a great conversation about life insurance, and really discovered something that was really kind of troubling. This gentleman has had a life insurance policy that he's had for several years. He's had it since the 90s, paid into it faithfully every month, and he's approaching 60. He'll be 60 in the latter part of this year, and just found out that at the age of 70, that life insurance policy is going to cancel. And he asked me what he should do. You know, and that's really scary. Can you imagine that? Feeling for years that you're doing your best to provide for you, provide for your family, provide for your children, and then suddenly realizing that what you thought was going to be there to help your loved ones may not be there at all. Well, that's a situation that a lot of people run into, and it's difficult, it's scary, and it can be overwhelming. But the reality is it doesn't have to be as scary as most people think it is, because there are things that you can do to plan ahead to make that process easier. You know, most of us realize that there needs to be some type of life insurance in place. Now, life insurance, typically, there are two basic types of life insurance. There's term life insurance, and then there's whole life insurance. Term life insurance, of course, you know, this is actually one of the brochures from Family Heritage. Term life insurance is always the most inexpensive, so most people will gravitate to it right away because of cost. But the sad part about term life is that it doesn't last forever. Just like its name implies, it is for a specific period of time, and then once that time is up, that's it, it's over. You don't have any coverage. Then people often get into a situation where they're at an older age, they have to get new coverage, and that new coverage is going to be very expensive because it's based on the older age, not the age that you used to be. And that's shocking. That's scary. Now, there is another type of insurance called whole life insurance. Whole is fantastic. The younger you get, of course, the less expensive it is, but the great thing is that it never runs out. As long as you continue to make those premium payments, you're always going to be able to have that coverage there just in case. You know, and I know I say that just in case, wondering, you know, what may happen, but the reality is none of us can predict what the future is going to hold. None of us know what's going to come around the corner. So that just in case situation may be a situation that's going to make or break the finances of your household, you know, if something catastrophic were to occur, you know, and a sickness or illness doesn't have to be the thing to cause a passing. It can be an injury. You know, we all drive vehicles. I say to people all the time, if you can get up in the morning, then you have the potential to fall down. So we need to make sure that we have some things in place to balance everything out. So I know you're wondering, okay, well, you know, I'm an insurance agent. You know, there's term life, there's whole life. You know, it's pretty simple. It's pretty cut and dry. But actually, my reason for talking to you is a little bit different. I'm really talking to you today for one main purpose, that there's more to insurance than just having life insurance. The fact is, your life insurance, that is going to go a long way towards paying final expenses, paying off a mortgage, perhaps paying off a vehicle. But what if something happens to you while you're still here? What are you going to do? Yes, most of us do have major medical insurance that can help with doctor and hospital bills, but those bills don't always cover, those insurance protections don't always cover everything. So you need to have something else there just in case. That just in case protection is called supplemental coverage, like an accident protection plan or a cancer protection plan. Think about this. If all of us work and we all have a paycheck, whether we get paid once a month, whether we get paid twice a month, or even if we're retired or disabled and get a check once a month and that's it, what are you doing to be able to protect that once a month check or that every 2-week check? Doesn't it make sense to have some protection to help that check if that check is necessary to pay all the other bills? That's why I'm here, to give you an option. There are things that you can do. We call it living insurance, to help offset those bills if something happens. Because not every situation, not every health event is going to cause a passing. Obviously it won't. But what do we do when we're dealing with trying to heal, trying to get better, not working, out of sick time, but those bills continue to pile up? That's why so many people opt to have a cancer protection plan, something as simple as this, or even an accident protection plan. You know, I've talked about it before. I've talked about it so often, actually. Cancer, that C word that we don't really like to discuss, it's something that affects so many people. According to the American Cancer Society, cancer will affect 1 out of every 2 men. It will affect 1 out of every 3 women. Those are pretty scary odds. So it makes sense to just do your due diligence, to have something there just in case, like a extra layer of protection, like an extra blanket on the bed, to make sure that everything is okay. Insurance is never going to be able to stop an injury or stop a major illness from occurring, but it's designed to do something even better. It's designed to be able to give you peace of mind, so that if you do have to deal with something as devastating as a stroke or a car accident or, God forbid, cancer, at least you don't have to fight everything alone. The burden of helping with those financial bills, we're going to help. Insurance would help. The insurance provider would help with that fight, so that you can just focus on getting better rather than worrying about how to pay the mortgage or worrying about how to pay the light bill. So do yourself a favor. Not just you, actually do your loved ones a favor. Make sure that your entire income is protected. Not just protected in your passing, but make sure that the bills are covered while you're living with some type of accident plan from any provider or a cancer plan through any provider, so that if you do have to go through a tough time, if one of these storms that's happening right now, if a storm does come and when that storm comes, you don't have to deal with it by yourself.